Sometimes you just got to go after it and see what you come up with, and that's exactly what we did here. If you didn't know already, this is the Flat Thunder truck where it all began way back in 1997. This is the first 4x4 pickup truck that I purchased and worked on, trying to fix it up and make it actually run again. And it's 2024. We're still working on this old girl. Trying to get her back to her original glory. Actually better than what it was when I originally purchased it. We got a new cab on it. We're looking at the inside of the new cab. We're trying to get the 4x4 shifter boot placed. Lovely new cab. This is the nicest cab for this vintage of truck that I have ever seen. I mean, it is gorgeous underneath. You'll see that in a minute. I bought a brand new shifter boot because the one that was on there was just an old gear shifter boot from a regular stick shift. And I'm guessing it goes somewhere in this vicinity here. But I don't know for sure. The biggest difference here is I think this is the low hump transmission tunnel, which is not typically used on four-wheel drives. Usually they have the high hump, where this is cut out and there's a bolt-on piece there. We're going to try to do this without the bolt-on piece because I don't really want to cut that whole thing out. That's dirt. That's not rust. It's beautiful. Again, that's all dirt. Right there is a shifter, and we need to get it out of there. It's basically pinned in between the cab. Here's the end of it. Right here's the end of it. It's basically pinned in between the cab. It's not tight. It's just sitting in there, and there's no way to rotate that up. So we got to get it out of there. And to do so, we got two options. We got this little knobby here that pops off, which is basically rusted away to nothing. And then we got this little knobby here. So let's see if this is going to come off here without falling apart. The light are not getting along. Alright, it's starting to come off, I think. Ah, there she is. So here she is, 4x4 shifter. Some thin gauge aluminum scrap here. What I'm going to try to do is form this around the same profile of the shifter to kind of identify and use as a pointer to where the shifter would go through the floor. So if we line it up down here with this corner in the center of the bolt, the top piece will be kind of where the rod's coming through. So I'm guessing somewhere there. This is roughly where the rod is. So if we reverse it right, it's somewhere around in here, which we can measure to these indents. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We may have to do some custom stuff here to make this work. Got some lines sketched on here. Yeah, we're really kind of hesitant on this and delaying this progress because I don't want to cut a hole in this cab floor. But if you look here closely, this shape here, this smaller square, that's where our little flag indicated where the hole should be roughly indicating from underneath. This larger shape here is the actual hole that's in the raised platform, or at least the rough dimensions of the hole in the old cab. And then over here we tried to lay out where this guy just kind of fit in there. Here was hold it up to how we could get it to fit best. Sketch this outline here roughly with it held up there because you can get underneath, and then we offset the dimensions to this edge where the real hole should be roughly in here, and that's this shape right here. So we got quite a bit of a disconnect here. The gear shifter wants to be up here, the new gear shifter boot wants to be down here, and I think we're just going to have to make it work. Brand new tool we're going to give a try. Harbor Freight quality. I've never used one of these before. It's an air nibbler, and hopefully it'll allow us to cut around that shape without throwing a bunch of sparks and shrapnel in here. It basically works. It has a little anvil that goes up and down. I've never used one. I didn't know it sticks out the end. Getting stuck on the hem and kind of took off on me. We'll have to try to see if we can control it a little bit better. It really needs like a T-handle. So we got a hole, and if you look down in the hole, you'll see the bolt for the gear shifter. Brake fluid fire. You know, just how we want this thing oriented. Right there is roughly where the thing goes. And we're going to have to make it all custom here. Somehow this handle has to go back to the mechanism. We're going to have to figure out how we want to bend shaft shape. Bend/shape this thing to get back over here. It used to come up over here, like so, but it would be down, something like that. Now we're going to change it such that it's roughly in there, but we need to go over 5 inches. So right, here she is. We got the kink straightened out. We got us a 90, and hopefully this is going to do the trick. Let's go spot it. Position our handle somewhere where we want it to be stationary here, and then it's going to travel back to there. So we're going to eyeball it where we want it to be when it's in 2-wheel drive, tack it, and then jam it in 4-wheel low and see just how it looks and make sure it works with the boot. Whoa, got a little toasty under there. I wanted to bring you down there, but when you're laying on the floor with a welding helmet on, you know, this far from the frame to the ground, jamming your arms up in there, trying to see what you're doing, holding the light and hold the stinger, you don't have a whole lot of room. So you just see my legs and probably me knocking you over. But we got it in there. We got pretty much an ugly blob of weld on the back and a little bit better ugly blob on the front. And we're in 4x4 low there, and we're in two-wheel drive there. So all we got to do is get our cool boot back on there. We already have all the holes spotted and drilled. I do need to get some longer screws. We don't have those available right now, but let's just see if it'll go on there, and then we can always add in the longer screws later. Uh-oh. There we go. I don't know what needs to happen, but basically we're too flat here. This needs to come up more like so. I really like that, but it needs to come up more like so somehow. My fault, I could have rotated it, but then the handle would have been way up in the air. Let that cool off a little bit, and then we'll test our boot on here. This is exactly why I didn't want to cut the main hole with the abrasive cutter. It just throws garbage everywhere. Alright, see what that did. Oh. Yeah, still too far forward. I'm gonna cut that section right out of there. What a ride that was. Kind of crazy, messed up. A little bit of a butcher job, but I think we might be on the right path. I gotta tack this a little bit heavier, and then we'll see if it can shift. Four by four. 4x4 low, neutral, two-wheel. I think that's gonna work. Finally, one step closer to getting the interior back in the old Flat Thunder truck. We ran into what pretty much is normal around here is we had some technical difficulties, and we were able to solve that and overcome that with just a little bit of customization. We really were struggling with this because we're trying to figure out what was the right way to do this. Did we need to cut out this whole pan, buy one of those top covers, put the old gear shifter back in the same way it came out? Didn't want to do that. I never removed the top cover from the other truck, and actually when we changed the cab, we tried to take it off, and it was just basically rusted in two and stuck to the cab. So didn't want to put that on here if we didn't have to. Wanted to upgrade our shifter boot. We bought this one, which was supposed to be a direct replacement, which is the nicer version. The side mount here. And now we got a shifter. We had to take the original shifter, cut it off, straighten it, modify it, shorten it, make it completely custom, but now it's on there. I think I'm going to like it. I won't be able to really give it a full honest review until we get the bench seat in here and just start driving it around. I do know it's a little bit shorter than I would like, but I am happier that it's off on the side here. Gives this middle space more, just more freedom. It could be just a shade taller, but is what it is. It works. It doesn't have that stupid push down, pull up. You just 4x4 high, neutral, 4x4 low, ready to rock and roll. Sometimes you just got to go after it and see what you come up with, and that's exactly what we did here. Straightened the old one, cut it, angled it, cut it completely in two, and put it back together. And now we can shift into 4x4 low, neutral, and 4x4 high. Pretty happy with that. Oh, she's getting loose. Finally, one step closer to getting this interior back in this old Flat Thunder truck.